Greetings, greetings, greetings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, shalom, Jah, Rastafari. Greetings, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of the Image and Nation Show. This is your brother, Leo Muhammad, in the house, your host, and sitting next to me is our beloved Sister Claudia, who we're going to be experimenting tonight with just a little camera shot of our sister. So Sister Claudia is in the house.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Welcome to the Image and Nation Show. Thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate and tune in to another show. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, dear beloved brothers and sisters. That's our sister Claudia with us this evening, and hopefully things will work out with the cameras. I am experimenting as we go along. I'm trying to develop the show, trying to take it onto another level and another level each and every time. And so we ask you to be patient and to bear with us because, you know, it is all very much trial and error at the present time. But once again, we are live on Zoom and also YouTube. So please take this opportunity to inform a member of your family, a loved one, somebody that you care about. Tell them that the Image and Nation Show is right now live and direct. And we are very, very happy, very thankful, very grateful to Almighty God, Allah, for allowing us the privilege to be able to come to you wherever you are viewing or listening to this particular broadcast today. Dear family, thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Image and Nation Show by visiting our channel on YouTube at the Nation of Islam London Study Group. And, you know, do those three things, dear family: like, share, and subscribe, that we may influence the algorithms. And there you go, that's my camera that's now clicked off. And so I'm gonna have to do something else here. 1 second, because I'm sure you cannot see me. And so let's try this instead for the time being. Yes, I hope this works. Okay, dear family, welcome to our show. And of course, the title this week is Satan Casting Out Satan. Now, you know, there's quite a lot really what I want to try and pack in. Technically, our show should run for approximately 2 hours. We invariably only do about an hour and a half. I'm going to try and get this one finished this week. You know, this is a very, very serious subject because we need to understand what's really going on in the world around us, because we may think it's just social or economic or only political in terms of the type of things that's going on our planet. But in truth, dear family, all of what we see going on is actually codified in scriptures, both Bible and Holy Quran. These things have been written long, long, long in advance. And today we are living in the time and the era of scriptures being fulfilled and these things playing out before our very eyes. But if we're not clear in truth about what we're looking at, we could actually miss the woods for the trees. We could think that this is just, you know, some secular type of happenings, things that are just going on, and they really don't have much bearing or relevance on our lives. And especially when it comes to the scriptures that have been written and the prophecies that have been written, we may think that it has nothing to do with these things, when in reality, these things which are unfolding are everything to do with prophecies which were written thousands of years in advance. We are living in the time of the fulfillment of many of these prophecies. On Tuesday, the 9th of August, today, of course, is Thursday, the 11th of August. On Tuesday, the 9th of August, 2022, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, or FBI, raided the Mar-a-Lago estate, the Florida home of former President Donald Trump. Dear family, the scripture in Matthew 12:26 says, that's chapter 12, verse 26 says, and if Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Dear family, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us back in 2020 in the great message that was entitled The Criteria from the Garden, that we are witnessing the unraveling, the destruction, the end of the current world as we have known it. And this is very real, my beloved brothers and sisters. And unfortunately, it's going to get very rough on the planet as we go forward. Things are going to become very, very dark. And what you are looking at when you see the home of the former president of the United States being raided by their premier law enforcement entity called the FBI at the behest of the Democratic Party, who is the opposition to the Trump party, which is the, they've gone out of my head for the time being, but it's the opposite to the Democrats, the Republicans. When you see the Republican Party being attacked, in particular, Donald Trump being attacked by the Democrats in such a way as this, when in reality, there are so many investigations that the FBI should be currently engaged in concerning Democrats, in particular, Joe Biden himself, and also his son, Hunter Biden, who various revelations have come about over the last couple of years, really implicating these two men, both the president and his son, in unprecedented illegal activity, unlawful behavior on a global scale. Yet the FBI have failed dismally to investigate any of those matters. But at the same time, they seem to be absolutely all over the former president, Donald Trump. And they've been on his back and on his case from the very time that he walked down or came down in those escalators and declared that he would be running for the presidency back around 2016. And so there is a war going on domestically in the United States of America. And I say again, it is Satan casting out Satan. This is not a time for us to necessarily be looking to take one side or the other. And what alarms me in reality is how much it would appear that so many of our people, Black people, are siding with the Democrats, thinking that these people are actually on our side and that these people are somehow righteous, while Trump and his band of merry men and women are the unrighteous brigade that we should all line ourselves up against. Dear family, that is a tremendous mistake. It's a great error. And I would encourage you today to be very mindful of choosing one side or the other, when in reality, it is the manifestation of Satan casting out Satan. We have been led to believe that Donald J. Trump is the worst American president ever, and that our collective hatred of him somehow makes the world a better place, while at the same time, our regurgitation and vomiting up of the political and media spin against him puts us in the same camp as the historical and open enemies of original people in political circles and the mass media, who have never remotely been a friend standing up in agreement with our cause for freedom, justice, and equality. These people have never, ever, ever been on our side as a people. I do wish we were so much more discerning and analytical, asking some critical questions like, why do they hate Trump, Putin, Alex Jones, etc.? And why should we hate them, those that I've just named, because our enemies say that we should? I just want us to think today, dear family, because, you know, in this time, we have to understand nuance. We have to understand subtleties. We have to see how one side is against the other. And what does that mean to us? And why is it that most of us may find ourselves today standing in the wrong place, in the wrong camp? I accuse President Harry S. Truman of war crimes under Article 6 of the Nuremberg Charter, outlawing the wanton destruction of cities, towns, and villages, or devastation not justified by military necessity. Specifically, I accuse President Truman of ordering the annihilation of Hiroshima and Nagasaki via an experimental terror weapon, resulting in the massacre and maiming of some 200,000 Japanese women, children, and old people. That was a statement made by Philip Noble in a mock trial in August 2001, where they were trying Harry S. Truman, okay, the one who was responsible for dropping the atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What I'm showing you, dear family, when we are being encouraged today to focus all of our attention on Donald J. Trump as the arch enemy, when in reality, all the way back from Truman, and we can go back beyond Truman, but we're starting with Truman, dear family, all the way back to Truman, who was not a Truman, but in truth, a liar and a murderer. Going all the way back to him, we can see that none of them have ever been good people. And you got to understand how even during that time, how, you know, Black people were being treated under Truman and the rest of the crew. And so I want to take us through today some of the history that we might really appreciate and understand the reality of what we are dealing with today, what it is that is unfolding on our planet, and how we must be wise in how we view these things. Imagination, promoting and advertising goods and services for the benefit of our community. Please take note of the following, and dear family, please support Nature's Hair Products. Visit www.natureshairproduct.co.uk and try the beard oil, specifically formulated hair butters, and so much more from Nature's Hair Products. Dear family, you need to know about WYLA for boys and girls aged approximately 8 years to 16 years old, producing our future leaders. Visit www.wylauk.com and get signed up, get your child signed up to be a part of this academy designed to bring out the leadership qualities of your child and to allow them to have a chance at succeeding in this wicked world, which was never designed to allow them to achieve. Dear family, forgive me, it is very, very hot, a beautiful, I'm not complaining, I love it, but it's a very, very hot day here in the United Kingdom. And, you know, I'm fully dressed up. I should really just have a little t-shirt and a little vest on at the present time, but we can't present our show in that fashion. Also, dear family, JJ Sorrel Products, check out at Sorrel 2020 and check out some of the beautiful products that are produced for our delight. Brothers and sisters, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad was already a global figure in the 1940s, lifting his voice against his people, Black people fighting in World War II. He was discouraging us against joining the military and fighting in World War II, and was falsely labeled a Japanese sympathizer by the US government, falsely charged and falsely imprisoned under an executive order signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt for draft evasion, though he was older than the required age for the draft. This is Roosevelt, the one who came after Truman. These are some of the so-called war presidents. And again, all of them were absolutely evil characters. And today, if you're not careful, when you hear about these people, you think, oh, you know, this was an era, golden era of good people and, you know, righteous people. No, dear family, this is the man who signed the executive order to take our messenger, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, off the streets, because he was terrified that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would teach and inform Black people about the truth of them and would discourage us from becoming cannon fodder in that so-called Second World War, which in reality was a European tribal war. This is European, like what's happening right now with this unfolding war in the Ukraine. It is an argument between Europeans, and because they cannot keep their evil to themselves, it eventually will spread to the entire world. This is how they operate, dear family. And so Eisenhower, or Ike, as they called him, this was the one who came after Roosevelt. He was an American military officer and statesman who served as the 34th president of the United States. During World War II, he served as supreme commander of the Allied expeditionary force in Europe. He planned and supervised the invasion of North Africa in 1942 to 1943 and the invasion of Normandy from the Western Front in 1944 to 1945. Dear family, I want you to listen to the numbers and estimated, and by the way, these are conservative estimates, but an estimated 40 to 50 million people died during World War II. This is Dwight D. Eisenhower. Between 40 and 50 million human beings lost their lives in the Second World War. We know that the Russians themselves lost nearly 20 million, if not 20 million of those in the Second World War. This is the type of killing fest that took place at that time, and the numbers of human lives that were lost and sacrificed because of this European tribal war that they called the Second World War. I'm emphasizing the numbers because, again, you know, they would have you believe today that these so-called terrorist groups and organizations who set off bombs here and there, killing 3 or killing 12 or killing 100 people or doing whatever it is that they do, one life is too many. But the point I'm trying to make is that when these people get ready to kill their family, it is in the millions. Okay, this is the point that you need to understand. No one kills like the European when he decides to start killing en masse. This is the reality that we need to come to terms with. According to an article in the Smithsonian magazine, John F. Kennedy's relationship with the Mafia is probably second only to his relationship with Marilyn Monroe. I mean, those of you who don't know the history, you need to study some of these presidents and, you know, what really went on in that day and in that time. He had a relationship with the actress Marilyn Monroe in terms of public fascination, while little direct evidence connects Kennedy, patriarch Joseph P. Kennedy, Sr., to the bootlegging industry of the Prohibition era. Now, what's that all about? I mean, basically what's happening, there was a lot of evidence and information that pointed to the fact that John F. Kennedy's father, the patriarch of the Kennedy family, who was Joseph P. Kennedy, was actually a bootlegger, a man who literally used to, you know, deal in illegal alcohol during the Prohibition era. And this is how he became very, very rich. And that he also had mob connections, because again, it was the Mafia and who were really the arch, you know, practitioners of bootlegging. But what's happening over the years is that they're slowly but surely trying to, especially since the assassination of John F. Kennedy, they're trying to clean up the Kennedys to make them look like they were more saintly than criminal. And so now it's saying that, you know, there's little evidence connecting the patriarch, Joseph P. Kennedy, with bootlegging. But in reality, dear family, there was corruption all throughout that era. And in truth, Kennedy also was involved with I'm talking about John F. Kennedy himself was involved to some degree with the Mafia in plotting to kill Fidel Castro and others. They worked hand in hand with the Mafia. There was a woman at one stage, another woman who Kennedy had a relationship with, because he was one of these people who was very much a philanderer. He was married to his wife, but he had various affairs, which the public ultimately found out about. But he had a relationship with a woman called Judy Exner, I believe her name was. And she was also at the same time in a relationship with the head of a Mafia family. And so this is, and according to her, she said that both Kennedy and the Mafia man that she was involved with, her words were, they both do business the same. And so don't be fooled. You see, this is what I'm really dealing with this because of this. I see so many of us as a people today just getting into the mix when it comes to this propaganda around Donald Trump, and everybody trying to get us to focus on this man like, oh, he's some anomaly, he's some weird apparition that's just appeared on the horizon. And, you know, all before him were wonderful and beautiful. And now we got this terrible entity called Trump, that if only we could rid ourselves of Trump, the world would be this wonderful place. This is a tremendous trick that is being played on us in particular, but the world in general. And we need to be wise, dear family, to this reality. There is a book called LBJ, The Mastermind of the Kennedy Assassination by Philip F. Nelson. And it says the case against L.B. Johnson and his role in Kennedy's assassination has never been sounder. LBJ aims to prove that Vice President Johnson played an active role in the assassination of President Kennedy, and that he began planning his takeover of the US presidency even before being named the vice presidential nominee in 1960. That was 3 years before the assassination of John F. Kennedy. But not just this book, but it's been rumored for many, many years that this man played an active role in the assassination of his own president, that the American government had a hand in the killing. The CIA and others had a hand in the killing of this president, because this president was trying to go against the status quo. He was trying to change certain realities when it came to the Vietnam War, when it came to other things that the military industrial complex, this perpetual war making. He had different ideas and he wanted to do different things. He came under tremendous pressure, Kennedy, to try and do something for Black people. And again, he was trying to move to some degree in that direction, even though at the same time his government was spying on Dr. Martin Luther King and doing all kinds of nefarious and wicked deeds in that direction. The point is that he fell foul of the system, what they call in the modern era, the deep state. He fell foul of the deep state, and the deep state absolutely moved that man out of the picture with some bullets to his head. And of course, you know, the history said that Lee Harvey Oswald, the lone gunman from the book depository, was responsible for the murder of Kennedy. But in truth and in reality, if you study into that case, you will see he holds no whatsoever. At this time, let's check out a few more of our sponsors. Dear beloved family, I hope everybody is good. I hope you are doing well. Visit www.natureshairproduct.co.uk and try the moisturizing hair and scalp oil, as well as beard oil and other natural hair products. This is, beautiful, and these products, and they work very, very well. And Nature's Hair Products gets tremendous feedback in relation to what is happening with people's hair when they use these products. Also, don't forget, there is a 20% discount if when you order, you mention the fact that you heard about it from the Image and Nation show. The Tribe, dear family, visit www.tribenation2019.com and pick up something that you can wear that will make a statement about your level and your degree of consciousness. Dear family, Nia's Bean Pies, visit Instagram at Nia's Bean Pies or call 07956 127 975. That's 07956 127 975. It is a sweet that's healthy all at the same time. That's very rare in this day and age to be able to get something that's sweet and healthy at the same time. But this is what the bean pie is. And the bean pie is one of the staples of those of us who are in the Nation of Islam. It is a very, very powerful food, and you should check it out, dear family. Okay. Also, pick up something from Proud to Be Black. Visit www.p2bb.uk or London Study Group. These are the websites, London Study Group 19.org, and order your Proud to Be Black t-shirts, caps, and mugs, and say it like you mean it, dear family, P2BB, which means Proud to Be Black. Pick up something from Proud to Be Black. And finally, don't forget, brothers and sisters, visit our YouTube channel, the Nation of Islam London Study Group New. Like, share, and subscribe, and also click the donation button to help us continue what we are doing. Dear family, we are moving today at a rapid pace because we want to try to get through all of this episode entitled Satan Casting Out Satan. I want to remind you that these presidents prior to today, all of them have been wicked and corrupt. President Nixon was nicknamed Tricky Dick, and according to the history collection, his crimes went far beyond Watergate. All you ever hear about today is the Watergate scandal, but in reality, his crimes went far beyond Watergate. His abuse of power, his use of the IRS, the FBI, and CIA against his perceived enemies, his obstruction of justice, payment of hush money, maintenance of an enemy's list are just a few of the crimes he committed while president and while trying to become the president. Again, they plot and scheme to get into the office, and then while they're in the office, it is corruption that reigns supreme. This is real, dear family. I know as Black people, we really want to try to give the benefit of the doubt to these people who have been ruling over us, these people who occupy high office. But in reality, the scripture is very clear. We war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay? This is the reality, dear family. It is unfortunate, but those who currently occupy high places, those who many of us would love to look up to and to think that because of the positions that they occupy, that somehow this makes them morally superior to us. It is a tremendous error and mistake on our part to view them in this way. In reality, they are the most corrupt on our planet. The corruption is not something that trickles upwards. It is something that actually trickles down. In one of his most controversial acts, he granted, this is Gerald Ford, this is the next one along in the line. He granted a presidential pardon to Richard Nixon. See, he comes in after Nixon. Nixon is disgraced. Nixon is exposed as a criminal and a fraud. But then the next one who comes in, Ford, he grants him a pardon to Richard Nixon for his role in the Watergate scandal. Exactly 1 month into his tenure, he granted Richard Nixon a full, free, and absolute pardon for all offenses Nixon committed or may have committed. See, because Nixon, in truth, should have been prosecuted beyond his leaving the office. And in truth, he should have faced justice for many of the evils that he committed whilst sitting in the Oval Office. But this one comes in and covers him up, covers his back, covers the crimes by granting him a full, free, and absolute pardon. So, I mean, look, man, it's like you can do whatever you want in these offices, and in the end, there is no justice. But one of the reasons why, as an individual, I'm a happy man, even knowing these things, is because I know that there is a living God who is the author of justice, and justice does not sleep. And I know, dear family, some of us think that these people may have gotten away, but again, they never escape. No one escapes. Justice will be done. Justice will be served. This is the reality. According to an opinion piece written in the Trillions Intelligence Network magazine, I believe it is, in 2021, it says, remembering the many crimes of Ronald Reagan. It goes on to say, as many clueless right-wingers celebrate Ronald Reagan on his birthday today, many thinking persons are remembering and mourning the death of the hundreds of thousands of victims of Ronald Reagan's policies and pondering the lasting damage that the man did, not only to the United States, but to the world. Again, I'm trying to show you how all of these who have gone before have been criminal in their behavior, in their activities. And so don't get it twisted and just focus your mind on Donald Trump, and think and analyze for yourself, why would the establishment be telling you all of these things about Trump? There's something about him that they don't want you to know or to focus on. Why is he such an enemy of the state? Why is the deep state determined to destroy this man, when in reality, to all intents and purposes, he is another one of them? But is he another one of them? He's not a politician. He's not a career politician. This is a businessman. And I go back and I remind you of all of our rap artists Before Trump became the president, most of them would be talking about Trump in their raps, and Trump would become, he was this iconic figure who they would, point to as a mark of success, as one that they aspired to be like. But having become the president, all of a sudden, everything switched, and even many of these rappers themselves became enemies in their language, in their talk about Trump, because the mass media told them that Trump was now persona non grata and enemy number one. You need to understand the way we have been manipulated as a people. We are talking today, dear family, about Satan casting out Satan. Carter might be a secular saint to many in the 21st century, but when it came to engaging with the world during his one-term presidency, he was a war criminal. I want you to hear me. We're talking now about Jimmy Carter, the man, by the way, who said that before he was the president, he saw one of these so-called UFOs. We know that they're not unidentified flying objects or unidentified aerial phenomena. But he said that when and if he became president, he would open the files about these things and reveal the truth to the American people and the people of the world. He did no such thing, because they promise you all kinds of stuff when they're running, but they are liars and they cannot ever make their word bond. This man, according to the history, it is said he was in fact a war criminal. In Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, Carter created violent programs, aided terrorists, and contributed to death and destruction at a high level. His stewardship over the empire also is instructive in the ways of liberal militarism and imperialism. Yeah, these liberals, man. And so many of our people fall for the liberal hype, these liberal white people thinking that they are with us, when in reality, they are some of the worst, because what they do, they come around and they act like they are your friend. They act like they're with you, but in reality, oftentimes they're the worst, because you think they're a friend. I've always liked my enemies who let me know up front that they are my enemy. Carter put the belligerent Henry Kissinger wannabe, Zbigniew Brzezinski. Have you heard about him? That's the same one that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us, says that it's easier to kill 1 million people than it is to, it's easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control 1 million people. This is what Zbigniew Brzezinski said. And he was this wannabe Henry Kissinger, because Henry Kissinger was this, again, another warmonger, another criminal, another one who is still alive, and he's absolutely still embroiled in all of the machinations that are taking place now in Ukraine and in other parts of the world. But Zbigniew wanted to be another Henry Kissinger, and this is the one that Carter put in charge of foreign policy. The Carter administration provided heavy support, military, financial, and diplomatic, to Jakarta, and then looked away as Indonesia, Jakarta being the capital of Indonesia, looked away as Indonesia slaughtered tens of thousands of people in East Timor. They supply the arms, the weapons, the finances in order for these things, these genocides to take place. Also, in South Africa, Carter continued support to the apartheid regime. See, again, don't forget how we began this. You see, they now when you talk about Carter, he's this saint, this beautiful. He was the peanut farmer who became the president. And he was such a nice man, such a good guy. And again, we forget the reality of what they did while they were in the office. Carter continued support to the apartheid regime. He made a deal to send 800 tons of military equipment to the Jonas Savimbi-led UNITA to fight against the revolutionary government in Angola. He was all up in Africa promoting warfare down there. And Angola and the MPLA, the battles that ensued included air attacks, raids on refugee camps, and a massacre in 1978 in which forces backed by the United States killed at least 800 Black people. This is President Carter. This is, one of those who came before Donald Trump, who came before the present era, who was no better. And in truth, I would say much worse than this one that they want you to focus on and hate, as if this is the only one that has ever come along and that, deserves our wrath. During Reagan's reign, the United States experienced the beginning of the end of what could have been a great nation. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that we are witnessing the unraveling of a great nation. We're witnessing the unraveling of a whole world order. And it began, dear family, with these presidents that I've named before. And one in particular, Ronald Reagan, was one of the worst that came along and speeded up and accelerated the unraveling. Under Reagan, elements within the government engaged in massive criminal activity that resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and the entrenchment of a vicious and evil criminal organization that is now firmly in power of not only the United States, but much of the world. I want you to listen. And by the way, these are not my words, dear family. These are words from magazine articles, from different publications. And the reason why that's important is because most of these things, they're not written by Black people. These are white people documenting the historical record of Reagan and Carter and these people. And so it is the manifestation of Satan casting out Satan, because make no mistake about it, as much as they point the finger at one or the other, they themselves, these people that you see on the news, talking about the evil of other people, they themselves are evil. And so Satan in that day and in that time will cast out Satan. We are taught in the Holy Quran that if an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully into it, lest you harm a people and then regret what you have done. So it's important to understand that most of the news that we get today, unless you're reading the Final Call newspaper, you are not getting your news from a righteous source. So if an unrighteous man brings you news, look carefully into it, dear family. You gotta be able to analyze for yourself what you are being told, because the chances are when you look beyond the headlines, when you look beyond the sloganism, and when you look beyond where they're trying to steer you by the nose to go, you will find deception, you will find lies, and you'll be wise to go in the opposite direction. Dear family, Reagan's crimes are many and started well before he was president, where he and Bush committed treason and paid the Iranians to not release the hostages in order to prevent the re-election of Jimmy Carter in 1980. Think about that. Just think about that. Here you got Carter running for the presidency to be, because this was now going into a second term. He wanted to have a second term. But the Reagan power brokers, the Reagan and Bush team, they literally paid people in Iran to keep and maintain some hostages, American hostages that they were holding, in order that Carter couldn't get them released. That would help his election campaign. And this, this is the kind of skullduggery that these people get up to. Don't give a damn about the hostages, but for the purposes of politics, they would get the Iranians to hold the people, hold the hostages until it was time for Reagan to become the president, and then they would be released at that time to shine a light on him, like, you know, he is the hero of the hour. And so it says, they committed treason and paid the Iranians not to release the hostages in order to prevent the re-election of Jimmy Carter in 1980, not to mention his reign of stupidity as the governor of California. This is what Reagan was before he became the president, similar to Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the governor of California. And there is rumor that they're trying to groom him one day to become the president, the man who basically murdered Tookie Williams because he was envious and jealous that this black man who had reformed himself in prison had a better body than him. And so when he had the opportunity to commute that death sentence, to sign, you know, away that death penalty, he instead signed the paper that said, kill him. And they executed our brother Tookie Williams. The hostages were released as promised as Reagan was sworn into office. See, this is how these demons work. Reagan then secretly sold chemical and biological weapons to Iraq. If you're wondering, you know, oh, Iraq has got weapons of mass destruction. Well, if you're wondering where these weapons of mass destruction came from, they were sold to Iraq and to Saddam by Reagan, by the Reagan government. This is how they come to have these weapons in that day and time. The hostages were released as promised as Reagan was sworn into office. Reagan then secretly sold chemical and biological weapons to Iraq and told CIA buddy Saddam Hussein, because he was in bed with them at that time. And this is what, when you see they eventually murdered Saddam, murdered his sons and other members of his family, destroyed his nation, and then hung him. You know, this is what awaits those of us who think that we can get into bed with Satan. Those of us in the Black community who are sellouts, who are traitors, who are wicked demons, who are working on behalf of an enemy against our own people. Remember, this is what's in store for you, because it's only a matter of time before Satan gets tired of you, and then he can do whatever he wants with you, because you don't have no protection from God, because you've already sold your soul to the devil. And so Iraq, and they told CIA buddy Saddam Hussein to step up bombing of Iran. They were paying Saddam to bomb Iran in those days. They gave them, Iraq over $80 billion, over $80 billion to make war on Iran. This is the kind of wickedness that Reagan did whilst he was in office, while still selling weapons to Iran. So imagine, you're giving all that money to Iraq and weaponry, and at the same chemical weapons and biological weapons at the same time, you're selling weapons to Iran as well at the same time. They financing and weaponizing both sides, because at the end of the day, they don't give a damn about Iraqis or Iranians. The more that die, the better. And so, dear family, while still selling weapons to Iran in a war that claimed an estimated 1 million victims. Don't forget, these people, when they kill by the millions. For those of you who like to get a little excited about, you know, oh, Black people and, you know, the way we kill, um, uh, the way we kill, beloved, is kindergarten stuff compared to how this man kills. I seem to have got my other camera back for a little while. I don't know how long it's going to stay. Oh no, it looks like it's gone again. So, dear family, let us go back here 1 second. Okay. All right. So, dear family, the criminal activities in the Mideast stretched around the world to Central America in the spectacle that came to be known as Iran Contra. Oh my God. I mean, I wish we had time to really spend time breaking down these things, but I mean, man, they were trading in guns and weapons and cocaine, and I mean, this is the United States government. This is the president, who was basically a drug dealer. This is when the cocaine flooded into South Central Los Angeles, and that crack epidemic began when they were dealing with this Iran Contra situation, where they were fueling a war in South America and in the Middle East, and at the same time in Los Angeles among Black people. Just imagine the wickedness of these people. I'm telling you, man, Donald Trump ain't done none of these things like these devils that we now look at as, these wonderful historical presidents, while we are focused on this man as if he is some, strange individual who has come along, and that we are being encouraged to vent our hatred against. I suggest to you, with all humility, maybe you need to think and ask yourself the question, why are they so adamant that we should join them in their condemnation of this man? The full extent of Reagan's crimes was long kept hidden because George W. Bush, he came after Reagan, issued an executive order which countermanded the 1978 Presidential Records Act and prevented the release of 68,000 pages of Reagan-era documents. In other words, another cover-up, similar to when Ford came in and covered up and pardoned Nixon. Well, George W. Bush comes in and covers up and pardons Reagan. This is how it works, dear family. And by the way, it doesn't matter whether they are Democrats or Republicans. In the end, they all maintain that process, that program, that genocidal, homicidal, criminal enterprise which happens from the White House. In 2009, Obama authorized the release of about 250,000 pages of Reagan-era documents that further expose his many crimes, but also show that Reagan lacked the intelligence to carry out most of the more elaborate crimes, and expose the true role of the Bush crime family. Think about it, dear family. Ronald Reagan was he was an actor before he got into that office, before he became the governor of California and ultimately the president. And what they're saying here is that he really just didn't have the elaborate intelligence to be able to carry off most of what he did, but it was so much of it was orchestrated by the Bush crime family, because Bush was his vice president. Just think, dear family, think about what we are talking about today. Satan, casting out Satan. Ask yourself, if you knew then what you know now about any of these demonic individuals, would you have gone out and voted for any one of them? Just think about it and ask yourself, who are you voting for? What are you voting for when you would go and vote for such people? Let us remember Ronald, 6. Wilson, 6. Reagan, 6. Okay, strange that all three of his names correspond to the number 6. And I remember at the time when he was a president, we were convinced that we were dealing with Satan himself, dealing with the devil. And because the devil, again, is not on the ground with black or red skin and some horns and a tail and a pitchfork, dear family, the devil looks like Reagan. The devil looks like Bush. The devil looks like Ford. The devil looks like Roosevelt. The devil looks like any of these people who have occupied this high office and are executing mayhem and genocide all around the world. Remember, let's remember Ronald Reagan as he really was. Let's remember all of them as they really were. Liars, thieves, mass murderers, war criminals, traitors, destroyers of freedom, destroyers of the environment, corporate whores, and Satanists. And by the way, you know, that's not just thrown in there. And again, these are not my words. These are from other Caucasians who have identified that many of these so-called presidents were Satanists. In other words, they secretly worship Satan, that they practice satanic practices. They're members of the Skull and Bones and other secret organizations. And in those fraternities, they practice Satanism. And that this Reagan really was an idiot and a moron. For those of us, again, who want to just, you know, point the finger at this individual in the modern era called Donald J. Trump. Their family, the Bush crime family. Again, Leo Muhammad didn't say it. It was written by Roger Stone. And, you know, this is how these people have been characterized as a crime family, dear family. Okay, it's just important for us to understand. You got an image there of George H. Walker Bush, George W. Bush, and I think the other one is Jeb Bush, who I think was the governor of California for many, many years. But again, or the governor of Florida, I think. I think he was. But, you know, this again, according to Roger Stone, the author, is a crime family, dear family. We just need to understand what we are dealing with. Don't believe the hype. Don't fall for this media today that is absolutely determined. And by the way, you know, remember, I'm only just touching a couple of bits here and there on these people, but, you know, on any one of them, you could do a whole show and you would never exhaust their crimes and the things that these people were responsible for whilst in that office. The Bush crime family smashes through the layers of lies and secrecy that have surrounded and protected our country's most successful political dynasty for nearly 2 centuries. This is the Bush crime family that's been written about here. New York Times bestseller author Roger Stone lashes out with a blistering indictment exposing the true history and monumental hypocrisy of the Bushes. In Stone's usual go for the jugular style, this is a no-holds-barred history of the Bush family, comprised of smug, entitled autocrats who both use and hide behind their famous name, hiding or beating around the Bush, their family. This is the reality that we are dealing with today. I hope everybody is good. I hope everybody is well. Is there anything that we need to acknowledge, dear sister Claudia? Let's have a quick look at Sister Claudia. She's looking very beautiful.
No, I said don't put the camera on. It's only half of my head.
It's only what?
Showing half of my head.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look. Why is it only showing half of your head?
No, see.
No.
No, it's half.
Oh, okay, just a little bit. There's a little bit missing. Okay, anything at all?
Oh no, we just thank everyone for their comments. Mr. P, welcome, Mr. P. We haven't
Mr. P's been missing for a little while. Welcome, Mr. P.
But thank you for the promotion of the
Yeah.
show. We thank Brother David Mohammed for his comments. Shahidi Mohammed, General Louverture, as usual, Brother Floyd Mohammed, Beverly McFadden. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. That's it, and thank you, Brother Leo.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Sister Claudia
and
Mohammed.
Harmonic Navigator, thank you.
Harmonic Navigator, thank you. Okay, so Bill Clinton, the 42nd president of the United States, has been publicly accused of sexual assault and or sexual misconduct by several women. Junita Broderick accused Clinton of raping her in 1978. Leslie Milwee accused Clinton of sexually assaulting her in 1980. Paula Jones accused Clinton of exposing himself to her in 1991, as well as sexually harassing her. And Kathleen Wiley accused Clinton of groping her without her consent in 1993. The Jones' allegations became public in 1994 during Clinton's first term as president, while Wiley's and Broderick's accusations became public in 1999 towards the end of Clinton's second term. Oh my goodness. Milwee made her accusation in 2016. And by the way, there was even a Black sister who accused George Bush of rape as well whilst he was in office. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on, dear family. This is the reality of the kind of people that's in these offices. And then you see, because of the power that they wield and the ability to cover up and hide, then they feel that they have impunity and they do these things. And, you know, they rarely, if ever, are brought to justice. This is, you know, I'm just touching on just a few things I can tell you about Clinton when he was in office, when he bombed a baby food making factory in Africa and killed a lot of innocent people, and told lies saying that it was some terrorist target, when in reality it was just producing baby milk formula in Africa. And he sent missiles in and basically destroyed it. And we can go on and on in terms of his crimes. And so, dear family, I hope everybody understands that in this day and time, Satan is at war with Satan. This is what is taking place. And again, it always makes me laugh when, for instance, you look at Prime Minister's question time. All I'm dealing with today is American presidents, but we may very soon have to take a good look at those who are running this country because of this election that's currently taking place between Richie Sunak and Liz Truss. But just, it always brings a wry smile to my face when you listen to Prime Minister's question time and you hear the types of accusations leveled across the aisle by one party against the other. And then when you consider the type of accusations of lying and corruption and name calling that goes on, and then we would turn around and go and vote for one or the other when they know themselves more than we would ever do. They know the reality of who they are, and they are constantly accusing the other of deceiving Parliament or misleading, because they use these little technical language where they're not allowed to call the honorable gentleman or the right honorable lady a liar. So they have to use these terms like misleading Parliament. I mean, listen to that. The corruption is so inbred. It's so ingrained that you can't even call it out for what it is. But nonetheless, they make it very, very clear that they dislike one another because of the deception and the corruption that one is pushing and the other is trying to expose. But yet we would go out and choose one or the other and vote for one or the other as if, you know, we're making that choice between the lesser of two evils. Why would you even want to choose the lesser of two evils? Why not just try to be good? Why not just try to choose God? Why not just, you know, I remember this George W. Bush when he was in office talking about you're either with us or you're with the terrorists. We said, no, we're not with you and we're not with the terrorists either. We're with God. There's a third choice, dear brothers and sisters. We must become the righteous people of God that we are all over again and stop this false choice between the lesser of two evils. Don't do that, because if you do that, then you go down with the evildoer. George W. Bush administration invaded Iraq on false pretenses. Troops stayed there for a decade. The prolonged conflict resulted in the death of hundreds of thousands of people. Bush, Blair, and those responsible have never admitted that the reason for the invasion and subsequent war was entirely baseless, and that all those innocent lives were taken in vain, dear family. US and UK involvement in the Muslim world has destabilized and cultivated fodder for the so-called global jihadist movement. Okay? It is because of what the West did in the Middle East that you then had the development of the so-called jihadist movement. And most of those young Muslims who got involved in the so-called jihadist movement, they're just fodder, okay? Cannon fodder. They were just people who were absolutely manipulated into committing suicide for nothing, into a war that ultimately they were manipulated into and that they could never win, and that was designed to alienate the entire human family against Islam, because Islam as a system, Islam as a way of life is the only thing that stands in the way of this Caucasian enemy having total hegemony, total global domination of the entire planet. He hasn't got it right now, dear family. He did have it when the British Empire boasted that the sun would never set on its empire, when they determined that through colonization, they would dominate the entire planet, and they colonized Africa, they colonized China, they colonized the subcontinent of India, they colonized the entire planet of people. But slowly but surely, their empire is shrinking and their colonies are diminishing, and the people are making themselves free. The people are freeing themselves from this colonial mentality and are desirous of becoming free and independent and autonomous peoples all over the world. And so the enemy now is desperate, trying to maintain control, trying to reimpose his domination on the planet. But he can't do it, dear family, because there is a new power on the scene, and that power is the power of Almighty God Allah. It's not jihadist, it's not so-called Islamic terrorists. We don't come into power through terrorism, dear family. Yes, the enemy will be terrorized, and the enemy is terrorized, but he's terrorized because the God of righteousness is on scene, and he's terrified because he is an unrighteous man, and what terrifies him is righteous conduct. What terrifies him is the fact that you have a God of justice and a God who is determined that the evildoer, the warmonger, now must be destroyed. This is what terrifies him. It's not because we are about the business of jihadism and blowing up things and blowing up innocent people. No, that's what the enemy has done, killing people to the tune of millions all over our planet. So, dear family, this is where we are today. Okay, this is where the world finds itself because of this long line of so-called presidents who have occupied that White House, and in their occupation, they have been criminal in their behavior. All of them, not just the one that they want us to focus on. And in fact, the only one who is not a career politician, the only one, when you study into it, who actually did something for Black people in North America. Under him, Black employment went up. Under him, Black people were actually being released from prison who otherwise were never ever given that opportunity to get out of prison because of laws that he enacted whilst they were incarcerated, many of them unfairly under Clinton and others before. And so, dear family, under him, he was given grants, to historical Black colleges. Obama didn't do it, family, I'm sorry, but under Bush, under Trump, these things were happening. It's just time for us to wake up and appreciate that somebody is trying to manipulate us into taking a side in the war with Satan, casting out Satan. President Obama approved more drone strikes in his first year in office than President Bush carried out during his entire administration. These are not Leo Muhammad's words. This is actual fact and history as recorded by historians. Very much like his predecessors, he should be considered for the label of international war criminal. This is our brother, okay, who I can almost guarantee you and assure you, at his core, has a good heart, is a beautiful human being. But for you to go and sit in that seat, occupy that space, man, you would never be permitted to get in there unless you were willing to carry out the wiles of Satan, unless you were willing to become a mouthpiece and an actor for Satan's will. This is the reality of what it means to go into politics in this world at that level. There's no way you can go in there and be the good guy. It's just not going to happen. Again, Kennedy tried that to some degree, and you see what the deep state, what the establishment ultimately did with him. He tried to change the status quo. During his presidency, Obama approved the use of 563 drone strikes that killed approximately 3,797 people. Dear family, see, that might, I don't know how that sounds to you, but I really don't and wouldn't want that on my conscience. 3,797 human beings killed from a drone remote in the sky, just all of a sudden, you just blown into pieces. I mean, imagine Joe Biden the other day coming out before the world and the cameras talking about, oh, we killed the second in charge to Osama bin Laden and the leader of Al-Qaeda. And with such brazen hubris to come before the world and admit that you are a cold-blooded murderer. And of course, he's doing that on the basis that, well, he thinks that the whole world will say, well, yeah, this guy's a terrorist, man. I mean, you know, he deserves it. But see, what you got to understand is that there are many people on the planet today who are waking up to who you are. And they understand that you, in fact, are the murderer, killing a man on his balcony, minding his own business in a sovereign nation, that you just override and disregard the fact that you are on somebody else's sovereign territory, committing cold-blooded murder with, by the way, the missile called Hellfire, and a missile with some experimental blades on the missile that was designed to turn the target into mincemeat. This is the wickedness of these people, and they think, and they're so confident in their evil that they think that they can come in front of the world and tell you what they just did, and that somehow they are justified, and somehow you know, it is acceptable. But remember, it's recorded, and God knows, and God is aware of your evil that you do. That man that you just killed, I guarantee you, he had a mother, a father, sisters, brothers, wife, children, and who knows who else died in that explosion that ultimately took his life. But this is the wanton evil that is practiced, and they don't give a damn. The other people who die in these assassinations are called collateral damage, as if their life doesn't matter. But let it be Biden's daughter or son or wife that's killed in that fashion, and you would never hear the last of it. And so this is what goes on, dear family. All of this terrorism was instigated in the first place by America, by Britain. They were the ones who went into the Middle East and started to do all manner of evil in those regions. And then they spawned this terrorist reaction. Terrorism, the so-called terrorism, is a reaction to their imperialist behavior all over the planet. And now they want to position themselves as the good guys who are now going after the terrorists. And unfortunately, too many of our people have fallen for this hype and believe that indeed Obama or Clinton or Bush or any number of them, they are the good guys and they're on the side of the good people. No, dear family. In fact, Obama authorized 54 drone strikes alone in Pakistan during his first year in office. And you see Pakistanis who, most of them are Muslims, and other people in the Middle East, when Barack Hussein Obama became the president, they had great and high hopes that this brother was going to do something different and something better, and that he offered some type of hope of a more peaceful world, when in reality, what he did was continue white supremacy. He became the CEO, okay, the chief executive officer of white supremacy, even though, and all the while, sitting there in his black skin. This is the reality, dear family. We are talking about Satan casting out Satan. The volume of investigations involving former US President Donald Trump is staggering and includes efforts to reverse the outcome of the 2020 US presidential election. Again, remember, these are not my words. I'm quoting what they've written about Trump, and listen to what they're saying. See, they're saying that the volume of investigations involving former US President Donald Trump is staggering. But what you need to know about those investigations is that the vast majority of those investigations have been initiated by his political opponents. Okay, staggering, and includes efforts to reverse the outcome of the 2020 US presidential elections. Now, you know, I observed the US presidential elections in 2020. And if I'm completely honest with you, dear family, I haven't seen no illegal efforts to try to reverse the presidency. What I've seen is Donald Trump and those with him saying and stating that the election was rigged and that they were inconsistencies and behaviors and things that took place during that election that ought to be and need to be investigated in order that the true outcome of the election can be looked at. And what I've seen as a result of those protestations and those claims is out and out attacks against Trump and those with him and the his party. And so what I'm saying, dear family, you know, I'm really, and I hope, because I know somebody, oh, he's defending Donald Trump. No, what I'm saying is that it's important that you and I don't believe the hype and go down that road where we just become yet more mouthpieces for a system that's never, ever told the truth. Why do you think now when you hear all of these tales about Trump, that this is now all of a sudden they're truth tellers? This is the same people who have lied throughout history about everything and everyone. Why do you think all of a sudden they're telling the truth? And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that this man is some, you know, innocent, beautiful human being. No, I'm sure that like most white people, he's got his demons and he's done his share. But what I'm also clear about is that this man is not a part of that system. And because of his money and because of his influence, he was able to galvanize a large portion of the American population who voted him into office, and that he has become a thorn in the side of the establishment. And I don't mind seeing somebody become a thorn in the side of a wicked system such as this one that's done all of the evil that it's done to us and to other people around the world. That's my stance, okay? That's why I'm looking at this man and wondering, why do you hate him so much? Because when you look at his history and the history of those who went before him, well, I would say that his behavior pales into insignificance in comparison, especially when you talk about starting wars around the world. I don't know of any that he has started. I know that he continued some that were already in existence, but I just want us to put on our thinking caps today. The volume of investigations involving former US President Donald Trump is staggering and includes efforts to reverse the outcome of the 2020 US presidential election, the handling of confiscated White House documents and his company's finance. Well, see, the handling of these documents from the White House is one of the reasons why one of the excuses that they've used as to why they raided Mar-a-Lago on Monday, I believe it was. You see, but again, you just need to go and do a little bit of study, dear family, and you'll find that every single president, Obama, all of them, when they left the White House, took what's called as classified documents with them, and that none of them have ever returned any of these documents, and that none of them have ever had their houses raided like Donald Trump has had his house raided. Why? Why is he such a target of the very system that he came into office to be a part of and to uphold? Why is he such an outsider, and why do they hate him so much, dear family? Why does he call the media fake news? Okay, why is he such a thorn in their side? Dear brothers and sisters, Trump is being sued by both the legislature and the police. Again, remember, this is the system that's against Trump, okay? The legislature and the police, by his niece, Mary Trump, by journalist Jean Carroll, whose rape charge he denies. He's been charged with rape. She's charged him with rape. There's a woman who is accusing Donald Trump of raping her. I have no doubt he could have done it, because It's not beyond these people. You remember when he was running for office, there was a statement that they had on tape of him talking about grabbing women by their private parts. I mean, no doubt, okay, these people, they get into power, they have money and influence, and oftentimes they think they can do whatever they want to do to women and to other people, or whatever the case may be. But again, rape, being charged with rape, being accused of rape, nothing new when it comes to the president of the United States of America. And by his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, this another one who is suing him, Michael Cohen, who has already served time in prison. The New York State Attorney General and the Manhattan District Attorney are looking into Trump's company, and several congressional committees still want to see his tax returns. And so this is the reality, dear family, of Satan casting out Satan. I hope everybody is good. I hope that this subject matter is shedding some light on the reality of what goes on in these high places, and that the corruption is mind-boggling, that none of them who have ever occupied this space have ever been decent, law-abiding, good human beings. They make laws for others to obey and to submit to, but they themselves are lawless people, dear family. According to the P.O.W.E.R India publication, they write the following: the life and crimes of Joe Biden. This is an Indian publication. The life and crimes of Joe Biden, and by the way, the reason why I'm quoting this Indian publication is because, you know, Joe Biden right now seems to have co-opted most of the media into writing good things about him, even though the man is a bumbling, stumbling fool. And you can hardly find anything of reality about this man when it comes to the media, apart from some of the right-wing media in America and in Australia and other parts of the world. And so I found something that remotely sounded more real, written by an Indian publication called P.O.W.E.R India. The life and crimes of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden that the mainstream media doesn't want you to read. The fact that the Hunter Biden disk drive, this is his laptop from hell that he left in a shop with a semi-blind repairman, and then all manner of evil and disgusting things have been discovered on this laptop, including all kinds of corrupt dealings, financial dealings all over the globe that involve both him and his daddy. The fact that the Hunter Biden disk drive was with the FBI for several months with no action taken shows the level of corruption that is seeping American institutions. Yeah, this is the FBI, the same FBI that just raided Mar-a-Lago, okay? But they've had Hunter Biden's laptop all of this time, and nothing has yet happened. Hunter Biden just flew off on holiday with his dad and family, and he is as free as a bird. But the evidence that points to his corrupt and illegal activities is just staggering, family, staggering, yet nothing is being done. 2 weeks after Biden's official trip as VP to China, as vice president to China, with Hunter went with him, dear family, on Air Force 2, I think they call that particular plane. Air Force 1 is what the president travels on. Air Force 2 is what the vice president travels on, and Biden was the vice president to Barack Obama. 2 weeks after Biden's official trip as vice president to China with Hunter in 2013, China invested $1.5 billion, initially $1 billion, into Hunter Biden's firm, Rosemont Seneca Private Equity. Joe Biden went to China to discuss the China takeover and military buildup in the South China Sea islands and high tariffs for American businesses. That was what the official trip was all about. While little progress was made on these, his son was rewarded handsomely. I mean, and dear family, the level of corruption where this son is able to go and do business to the tune of $1.5 billion because his father is the vice president. This is how this thing works. Soon after Obama's presidency started in 2009, Vice President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, Secretary of State John Kerry's stepson, Chris Hines, Chris' friend, Devon Archer, together formed a company called Rosemont Seneca Partners that was the centerpiece of the corruption, selling US interests to China and many other countries. Devon Archer was convicted of stealing from the financial interest of US Native American tribes. Also, a Russian oligarch and widow of Moscow mayor and friend of Putin transferred $3.5 million to Hunter Biden in 2014. Hunter is just going all over the world collecting money while his father is the vice president to the American presidency. James Biden, this is the brother now of Joe Biden, secured a $1.5 billion US government contract, i.e. taxpayers' money, to build homes in Iraq from the US in 2010 for a company that hired him, even though he has zero experience in real estate. And by the way, that goes for Hunter as well. No experience whatsoever in, oil, in the oil business or whatever, or gas business, but yet he was also sitting on a board of directors for a company called Burisma. I think that's the name of it, that was located in Ukraine, and on and on. I mean, we're just literally touching a couple of the corruption points here, but it goes very, very deep. China financed a $100,000 global spending spree for James Biden, that's the brother of Joe Biden, and his wife. And this comes via a Senate committee report. Okay, $100,000 spending spree for James Biden, paid for by the Chinese. In his hunger for corrupt money, Joe Biden used his own son as the front person for all the corrupt activities, leaving his son a chronic drug and sex addict. I mean, you just need to go and do your own research into the laptop from hell, Hunter Biden's laptop, and see the activities with prostitutes and drugs and all manner of stuff that he's got on this laptop. That initially, when the laptop was exposed, when it came to public notice, intelligence agents, I think there was about 50 of them, who came out and said, "Oh, this is Russian disinformation against the Bidens." But now it's been proved beyond any doubt whatsoever that this was nothing to do with disinformation from Russia or anywhere else, and that the laptop is very real and very much the reality of what Hunter Biden has been up to. In his hunger for corrupt money, Joe Biden used his own son as the front person for all the corrupt activities, leaving his son a chronic drug and sex addict while moving into the shady world of international political corruption. This fact was revealed in Hunter Biden's email to his daughter on how he was supporting the Biden family for 30 years and giving 50% to his father, Joe Biden. Hunter was also involved with firms in Russia and Eastern European countries, that's that Burisma and others that I mentioned earlier, that were involved in prostitution and human trafficking. Again, this comes via the Senate committee report. So these are all official reports where all of this information is coming from. And so in closing, dear family, Satan is casting out Satan. They are imploding on each other. They are manifesting now the evil that is encapsulated within their system, and it is going to bring their house down. How can the house stand if they be divided against one another? As long as they were united in their evil against the peoples of the world, then the house could stand. But now that they're tearing each other apart, the whole thing is about to crash to the ground. And so a minute ago, we mentioned the fact that Hunter Biden wrote an email to his sister as it relates to, the level of corruption that he's involved in, and that also involves Joe Biden, his father, and the entire family. And so in closing, we'll just finish off, dear family, with the content of that email written by Hunter to his sister. This is from his iPhone. It was an iPhone text message from Hunter Biden to Naomi Biden on January the 3rd, 2019. And it reads, I love all of you, but I don't receive any respect. And that's fine, I guess. It works for you, apparently. I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family for 30 years. It's really hard, but don't worry. Unlike P.O.W.E.R, talking about Joe Biden, I won't make you give me half your salary. So whatever Hunter has been involved in these shady deals all around the world, his father, Joe Biden, the former vice president, now president of the United States, has been picking up half of the spoils, half of the money. The corruption stinks to high heaven. Dear family, this world is finished. It's done. It's over. You and I today must clean up our act. We must get back with our God, not a spook God, but Allah, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad. We must get with his servant, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. We must get with the man left in our midst today by both God and the messenger of Allah, the exalted Christ, the honorable Elijah Muhammad. We must get with the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. This is the time. Don't tell me that you admire Brother Leo Muhammad and what I share and what I am attempting to do, and negate the fact that everything that I share, everything that I do of good is as a result of those names that I've just mentioned. Master Farad Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. These are my inspiration. These are my teachers and guides. These are those who have allowed me to come from a decrepit, terrible condition in my life, now with aspirations and striving to be a decent human being, to be somebody who can be part of the solution and not a part of the problem, someone who can offer to my fellow human beings freedom, justice, and equality, and someone who can have a religion that says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do no evil do no crime, do good, be righteous. And so, dear family, I pray that something that has been shared, something that's been said this evening has been of benefit to you, and that, you recognize the importance of this type of word, and that you will make those changes necessary in order for us to become a successful people. Last word from Sister Claudia before we go, and then we will be out of here.
So family, just to say thank you once again for tuning in, and thank you for all of your messages. And thank you to the Zoom family as well. We can't forget you. Thank you, Sister Halima from Barbados for tuning in.
Wonderful.
Oh, Brother Abdul Rahman, thank you all. May Allah continue to bless you all. Stay safe, stay strong. Know that Allah, God loves you all. And we thank you and pray that you can tune in again to the Imagination show next week. Thank you.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And dear family, Assalamu alaikum. May the Creator grant you a wonderful, wonderful evening, or the rest of your day, or wherever you are, what time frame you are in. Look forward to seeing you all again very soon with another episode of the Image and Nation show. Assalamu alaikum.